Welcome back to another episode of the Great Lakes Post Big Ten Volleyball Preview. I'm Casey Campbell. And now we're going to take a look at the Purdue Boilermakers. And joining us, you know him, of course, head coach Dave Shondell joins us. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's a wonderful time of the year with the Olympics going on and the start of volleyball, college volleyball around the corner. So we're putting a lot of energy into it right now.
Okay, so I got to say, it's before we get to previewing this year, you know, just coming off a season last year in the spring. I know typically you guys would usually play in the spring, but maybe some teams here and there, but not a season like you did.
Mm-hmm.
But what was last season like for you guys?
It was a challenge, I think, for everybody to persevere through unknown circumstances and a lot of strange things. But I give our players a lot of credit for dealing with that and trying to make the very, very best out of a tough situation. I give our athletic trainer, Stephanie Medina, a lot of credit for, helping lead our team through those times. And, we didn't miss any matches based on our COVID. We lost 2 matches to Michigan State because they had some issues, but we were healthy the entire season from that standpoint. So that's a real credit to our trainer and to our players.
Yeah. So going into this year, that it's going to be one of those seasons where the Big Ten's just going to be insane, like it usually is. But what is the outlook heading in for you guys this year?
Well, we return every single player off a team that went to the Elite Eight last year, including 4 all Big Ten athletes. We have some good freshmen arriving. We have 21 players on our roster, which is the good news and the bad news scenario. It will be a chore to make sure everybody feels like they're contributing when you have that many players. It will be a little bit of a challenge to train 21 players when you're used to training somewhere between 15 and 17. But we've got all great players. I mean, there's not anybody we would trade in. So we're excited about it, but it's a lot of players to have on our roster.
Yeah. Okay, so talk about some of the people that are coming back this year, some of the standouts from your team, looking like it's going to be another pretty good year down in West Lafayette for you guys.
Yeah, well, 2 seniors come back. Caitlyn Newton, who's been a real mainstay offensively for us and has a chance to finish in the top 7 or 8 all time in kills at Purdue. This will be her 5th season, and so we're glad that she'll come back as an outside hitter. She's been a 6 rotation player for us, which is a really important job. Jenna Otek, another 5th-year kid that will come back for her 5th season to play, was the Defensive Player of the Year in the Big Ten as our libero. And Grace Cleveland was a first-team All-American as the opposite player. And Haley Bush was also an all Big Ten player as our setter, and I think is one of the top 5 setters in the country. So those are the girls that earned all Big Ten honors. But, we returned Taylor Trammell, who was a freshman middle a year ago, was the 3rd leading blocker in the country as a freshman, which is amazing because normally blocking is something that it takes time to learn when you get it at this level. But she's just a natural blocker and did a great job. JL Johnson was our other middle. She'll be a senior this year for us and gives us a lot of leadership, as does another senior, Marissa Horning, who will fight for our libero position. So in a nutshell, that's kind of the primary players that have done a lot for us in the past, but we have a lot of good talent and again, some good freshmen arriving as well.
For you guys, I know you didn't play any non-conference games. This year you do. How important is it for your team to play non-conference games?
Well, I think it prepares you for, the battles of the Big Ten, and it gives you a little bit of time to figure out who you are. We actually survived last year without doing it, and we were no worse for the wear. But I think this allows coaches opportunities to play some people normally that, give them a chance to prove what they can do. If you jump right into the Big Ten, every match is just accelerated, and you have to be at your very, very best. But with our schedule non-conference, it's not a whole lot different. I mean, we're playing a really tough non-conference slate. And so I don't think we're going to be able to sit back and experiment a whole lot during our non-conference play. The experimentation will be in practice. We're going to be, statting everything in practice because we have a lot of people that want to play, a lot of players that deserve to play at this level. So what we do in practice is going to kind of determine who's going to play on match day.
So going into this, and I was talking to some other people about this. It's the Big Ten has always been top because it's it's you guys, it's Wisconsin, it's Minnesota, and Michigan State. But we've seen that 8, 9, 10 seeds of that team, the Northwesterns, the Ohio States, but can't forget anyone else, the Indianas of the world. It's they're pretty. This conference is kind of. What teams are you looking out for this year that could have a big year for you guys, for big year in this conference?
Well, to be obvious, every single one of them. We're not at a point where we can overlook anybody in our league. Rutgers was a team that was kind of the cellar dweller of the Big Ten since they arrived. Last year, they jumped up to finish, I think, 10th or 11th in the 14-team league, and they have about everybody back. I don't think you can relax on anybody in this league. I think teams that did not make the NCAA tournament a year ago, because it was a smaller tournament, only 48 teams were able to play in the NCAA volleyball championships last year instead of the normal 64 because of the COVID. So not as many teams got in. So I look for Michigan to be a real factor. They were hit really hard by COVID, missed a lot of matches. They had kind of a real turmoil of a season. And I think they'll recover nicely because they've got really good talent. Illinois is a team that's loaded. They just played the toughest schedule in the league last year, and every team that beat them was a team that was ranked in the top 25. So there's really not that much shame in that. But I expect them to be a tournament team this year. I think Northwestern is ready to pounce on people. It's their time. They've got a really talented team. Last couple of years, I expected them to be a potential NCAA tournament team, but it just didn't happen. So I think they've got the ability to do that. But we can't afford to relax on anybody. And I think, Michigan State, Indiana, Iowa, right down the list, Maryland, those people all have an opportunity if they play well as a team to make the tournament this season.
Yeah. And kind of going into this with the tournament this year, what from that standpoint, I'm sure you saw the NCAA findings with all that in regards to the women's sports and all that. What are your thoughts on what you saw when you went to the tournament site there?
I thought the NCAA did a great job. I mean, for those of us that were there, I thought that they Omaha opened their arms to every team. It's easy to be critical of unique situations when it's never been done before. And I'm sure that, maybe having more people on site might have helped. But the NCAA was trying to run about 70 tournaments last year during about a 4-month time. Right. And it made it impossible to be at their very, very best. But for those of us that were there, the people I've talked to, we thought it was great. It was great to have all those teams in the same place. I think the NCAA is looking at trying to maybe change the way they format their tournament and maybe go to 8 teams on site for the final 8, the Elite 8, because they like that feel of having more people on the championship site. But I felt like, we were treated great. The testing was a pain in the rear. You had to do it, every day, but that you had to do it. And, we had some players that had false positives. So that made a lot of us nervous. But at the end of the day, we had no problems and everybody played. And I thought the NCAA did a nice job. I have no problems with it. And
also, what are some of the things that you guys need to do to get over? If we can just get better at this specific thing, we could really, really do well.
Well, I think we're on schedule, Casey. I mean, we've been here 18 years. And like you say, we've been knocking on the door of the Final Four for a long time. And, we certainly would like to get there. I'm not going to evaluate our players based on whether they get to the Final Four or not. We have great players and great people in this program. Annie Drews, who's leading the Olympic team right now, is a pretty good example of what I'm talking about. But we feel like we have the talent this year to get there. It takes experience. It takes mental toughness. It takes players walking in the gym every day, trying to get better every single day. And the thing I think we'll have this year is going to be just an incredible competitive atmosphere in the gym. As I mentioned, stats are going to be important, how they do every day in practice. And we expect to have just an amazing environment. The culture that we're going to have every day in that gym, I think, is going to be one thing that's going to allow us to get better and have a chance to beat anybody we played this season.
All right. Well, Dave Shondell, thank you for spending some time with us, and good luck this season down in West Lafayette.
Appreciate your interest in our program and in the Big Ten. Thanks, Casey.